It's a brachiocephalic from here to the jugular, and then after that becomes the subclavian. Where does the brachiocephalic end and the subclavian begin? Anybody have a book open?
Yeah.
So you look up the venous structure for the head and neck, and it will show you the name change. When does the brachiocephalic become the subclavian? After the subclavian? After the jugular?
Yeah. Brachiocephalic, and then you go to jugular, and then subclavian after all those.
Okay, so after the jugular it becomes subclavian. So remember that the left lymphatic duct, which drains all the lymph back into the venous system for reprocessing, which you can actually see here by a green little structure, which they always like to ask because it's small and hidden. Okay, it's called the left lymphatic duct. Okay, it goes into the left subclavian vein. And you'll be able to see the groin where there is lymph tissue. How about lymph glands? What are lymph tissues? What kind of tissues are involved in lymph? We haven't talked about it. Anybody do that?
They're like tonsils.
Tonsils, exactly. Can you see tonsils on this half head? I would show it to you if you couldn't, so yes, you can. You have a set of 3 of them. Anybody know the 3 tonsils or lymph tissues? Sasha?
Well, there's 5.
Well, I'm talking about 3 names. There are 5, but there's 2 sets of 2 and then 1. But what are the 3 names?
Pharyngeal, palatine, and lingual.
Okay, so we have the lingual, which is going to be where? Right down here by the tongue. Therefore, it's lingual. Then what's this right over here? Well, there's palatine, and there's pharyngeal, and there's lingual.
Pharyngeal.
So, is this going to be the pharyngeal?
Yes.
That's where the mouth is. That's where the back is. And then this is going to be way up here by what? By the palatine. All right. So anyway, you can see those here. What are the other lymph structures? Is the spleen a lymph gland?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Is the thymus a lymph gland?
Yes.
You guys remember the thymus on your last exam?
Yeah,
Snuck that one in on you.
yeah, I remember it.
All right. So the spleen is easy to see. You can see the spleen sitting right out here. That's going to be a lymph tissue. If you look back there on the middle chart, for study purposes, it kind of shows you right behind the mannequin all the different lymph structures. You will also, if you look in your lab manual, I'm sure they're going to be histology. They like usually pulling out a lymph slide. Are there any slides? Do you have a lymph slide there? If there's a lymph slide there, I'll show you what it looks like. We'll check that during open lab. What the heck is that? Is that yours?
Yeah,
Is that dead?
I hope so.
Okay. Looked kind of strange. So when there's not a lot that you're going to be tested on lymph, but there are a few things. Most of them are going to be on the torso, the half head. What else? What is the other one? Another lymph tissue. We have the thymus, we have the spleen, we have the lymph node, we have the lymph fluid that flows through the extra lymph vessels. What?
Red blood marrow?
Not necessarily. Is that what they're asking you for?
It says, yeah, primary lymphatic organ made up of red bone marrow and thymus. Fine.
Right. Red bone marrow is what is going to be making a lot of your lymphocytes. But it's hard in lab to actually show you that. They can ask you that question, but they can't show you that. What is another structure that's lymph?
We have some here.
Tendons? Appendix. Exactly. Where's your appendix? What structure does it come off of?
The cecum.
Tyler, could you grab that gray colon thing looking right there? That's right. Thank you. The appendix is lymphatic tissue. Thank you. Whenever you see generally lymphatic tissue, it's going to be green. So here's the lymphatic tissue. This is the appendix. It's called the vermiform appendix because it looks like a worm. Vermiform means worm-like. And this is the cecum, which is the first part of the colon. Bless you, bless you, bless you. And here's the small intestine. So you have the ileum, the cecum, and the appendix all come together. And this is on the right side, the right lower quadrant. That's another tissue. Anything else?
Patches?
What?
The patches, the Peyer's patches?
Peyer's patches. Now that we will definitely see. Johnny, are they over there? Okay. then what we'll do is, we'll go ahead, clear this. We'll go ahead and throw some of those up while you're going through Open Lab. Once I get them set up, we'll look at them. Peyer's patches are only found in what part of the intestinal tract? Small intestine, what part of the small intestine? There are three sections. Duodenum, jejunum, or ileum? Should be where? Ileum. It's going to be in the last section. Why do we have Peyer's patches in the ileum? What would the function be for having they're called Peyer's patches, or they're called MALT. That's mucoso-associated lymphatic tissue.
Movement
What?
of stuff there?
Well, you have to remember that what is the whole functional process that goes on in the small and large intestine?
Reabsorption.
It's breaking down the food to smaller microorganisms and molecules that can be reabsorbed. What's left after the things are reabsorbed? Feces, waste, which is high in bacteria. So by the time it gets to the small intestine, most of the actual nutrients have been absorbed out of it. And all that's going to be taken out during the large intestine, or the colon, is mostly going to be water. So right around the opening to the ileocecal sac, or it goes into the cecum, which is a large intestine, from the ileum, there are lots of different Peyer's patches to help keep the bacteria count down. So that's why it's relatively functional like that. What else can they test you on lymphatic? Something called cisternae chealae. And that is a kind of like, the coronary sinuses for the venous drainage of the heart blood to come back. It goes into the coronary sinus, kind of all meets in this little area. Well, the cisternae chealae is a area in the lymphatic system which is right in the lumbar region, where most of the lower lymphatic tissue comes in and flows into it, and then from there takes it up into the lymphatic ducts. Do you have to know that one?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you can see it. I don't remember them ever having a good picture of it. So they may just ask you functionally what it is. Actually, they could probably use one of these as it, though it doesn't really look like it. They've never used that before, so that's why.
The bottom.
What?
Cistern chili.
The cisternae chealae.
Really? That's what it is? Okay.
It's going to be located in the lower lumbar region. That's where all the lymphatic tissue from the legs and the pelvic kind of drop into. And from there they go straight up into the thoracic and up into the thoracic duct. All right. As far as lymphatic tissue, that's generally about it. We'll look at some histology in just a minute. So now how about respiratory? Respiratory, we have all sorts of interesting things.